Hi, this is Charles Tobermann of Outer Park, and I'm here with our fabulous drummer, Jason Marsalis, who's joining me from New Orleans. And nice to have you, Jason. Nice to talk to you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Charles. Good to see you.
Thanks. I just wanted to quickly tell people this is all in relation to this project that we call Rhythm Section Relief, which is a release of a two-song single on Bandcamp that people can buy for $10 and or they can give more if they want. And the idea is to benefit you and James Singleton, who are the two guys who really survived by playing gigs and who are mostly sidelined now during the shutdown that accompanies the coronavirus pandemic. So
Mhm.
it's a little bit of background of how we met and how you happen to play on our records.
Yes.
Um, I remember going back to school at the end of summer vacation. I guess it was 2016. I'm not sure, but and
Uh-huh.
people were asking me. People were telling me, "Oh, Charles, there's another American musician that lives in Orleans now." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, what's his name?" And they said, "Oh, Marsalis." And I'm like, "Wow, that sounds weird." I actually, to be honest, I wasn't aware of you at that time, and I thought I knew of your older brothers, and I'm thinking, no, that doesn't sound right. I'm pretty sure that they didn't move to Orleans.
Right.
And then I saw something in the newspaper about you. It said Jason Marsalis, and then it ended up that I think your wife Kaya and your daughters came to this English language conversation club they had at the school where I teach, or where
Yeah.
I taught at the time. And I met them. I said, you guys, and then we found out we were practically neighbors.
Yeah.
So I said, you guys got to come over for dinner. And you did. And then you and I met, and then you came down once to try some cymbals, and you played with my improvisation group, that was very funny because I didn't I didn't want them to get all uptight, so I just said, "Oh, this is Jason. He's going to play with us today." And
Right.
we play. I remember exactly what we played. We played like this 45-minute improvisation on a tone row by Schoenberg, and then
Yeah.
Frank Zappa's King Kong, and that was great. And then you came a few more times and played with my classes, and we did a co-taught improvisation workshop and so on. And then you guys moved back to New Orleans, and
Hmm.
when we decided with James Singleton and Patrick Noonan to do this album, I asked you if you would be interested in playing on it, and you said yes, and you did. And it was like it was an interesting thing because you and I had played together. You had played with James. I had played with James, and Patrick and James and I had all played together. But all of the people who were actually making the recording had never played together. And
Right. As a band.
and,
True.
and it came out. I think it came out good. I mean, I don't have an unbiased opinion, but I think it came out good. And I think it was really interesting. It was nice because basically every song on the album is a different style. There's John
Hmm.
Coltrane and Frank Zappa and Pink Floyd and a country song and Muddy Waters,
Yeah.
and some John Cage influenced improvisation and stuff like that. It's very good. And I think, if I might say so, I think a lot of people who know you as an excellent jazz musician would be pretty surprised that you can actually play all of that other stuff too. And that's something that came really came out really well, I think. Like those old blues songs and the
Hmm.
truck driving songs and so on, uh,
Yeah.
came out really nice. Plus some really nice vibes work on Naima by John Coltrane. Um, so it was a big pleasure to have you on that. And then we have a new one coming out at some point in 2020.
Hmm.
Um, and we were fortunate enough to have you on that as well. So I hope people will go check it out. Um,
Absolutely.
you can find it on Bandcamp, and I hope they will support this rhythm section relief project. So can you just give us, let us know how, what life is like as a working or not working musician these days in New Orleans?
Yeah, well, life is definitely very different because since we can't play in the clubs or any rooms anymore, you have to figure out other ways to do it, and so that's why there's so many shows that are online right now, and that's pretty much been what's been going on. I mean, that's what everybody's been doing. I think that you have people that are still playing music, but uh, it's been all these online shows. And what was interesting for me with doing online shows is that it, it was almost like another aspect of it was like another avenue of developing music,
Mm-hmm.
or developing rather, because it's sort of like when you get started learning an instrument and it's not that great, but then you keep practicing, and after a few years, it gets better. Or if you have a new band and it's not that strong at first, but you keep going and you figure out what works, you figure out what doesn't. And this streaming was like that,
Mm-hmm.
because at first, I was going to do something at one place, but then I realized the sound wasn't really that great there. There were guys that were using this app. I think it was this acapella app. But the problem with, especially with the music that we do, is that it's a beat to beat music, and so it with more popular music, it's a little easier to just layer tracks
Mm-hmm.
like that, because it's a slower beat. It's not easy, but easier to sort of layer things together. But when you have a music that's beat to beat, and the beat fluctuates every beat and can easily get off, and everything is sort of depending on what's happening live in that moment, it's not easy to do that. And I'd see guys do that. I say, no, I don't want to do that. I considered it, but I say, no, I don't want to do that. Let me just figure out how to do something live. So then you start to find out that there's people that have rooms they can go to, or studios that are open, and so forth. And studios deciding, oh, we'll do live streams here. So you have that's going on. You have um, what is it? So it's been interesting, because to me it's been the same process of developing as a musician, is doing the live streams. In fact, even with my own shows, I've decided to treat them like shows,
Mm-hmm.
and
I noticed
not
that.
me. Yeah, not
I
me
noticed,
playing around in my house,
right. I
because
noticed that. I noticed that. I saw part of your solo drum show, and I saw
yeah,
part of a vibe when it looked like, and I even heard you talk about it in one of the things that you did, that uh, you were treating it like a concert and not like a. I mean, I think that's that's the best we can do right now. Uh,
yeah,
I can imagine that you're looking forward to the day when it's possible to play a gig uh, in front of a live audience again, but I don't think anybody knows exactly when that's going to happen.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we we have to we have to find what's good about these new tools, and also understand that that's simply never going to replace a live concert, because I think, this is my opinion, I think that that's what music really is. And
well, that is what it is. In fact, it's interesting because in in uh, in in the world of classical music, in those circles, there were those people who didn't believe in recordings.
Yes, that's true.
They didn't believe in recordings. They were like, no, see it live, see it live. They didn't, they didn't really believe in recordings. Now I think that now in the world of classical music, that actually makes more. It makes more sense in the sense that you do have a piece that is going to be the same. The interpretations will change, but the piece is the same piece of music. So I can see them saying that no, you should see it live. And I think in say other kinds of music, especially like say like in the jazz world, for instance, where every time the music is played, it's a different solo, it's a different improvisation, and so that's why you have what we call a bootleg culture.
Mm-hmm.
Where and that's a whole and that's and that's it's interesting because that kind of thing isn't really about like making money either.
Right.
It's usually these tapes that musicians have. Like, if you heard this live gig, man,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. The musician had this tape. Man, this is this live gig. I got a John Coltrane and Roy Haynes is playing, and McCoy Tyner and Jimmy Garrison. They're not there yet. They're like late or something, and it's just two of them playing. And then but eventually they show up and they start playing, and the music gets more intense. And this is just something that happens on a gig. It's now in the studio, it's a totally different environment, totally different situation.
Yeah.
But in that music, I think that's why you have guys that have believed in recordings because it would be improvised and then when you have cats who died and passed away, well, that's it. They're not around anymore. So
Right.
recordings that are left.
But they're still putting out albums.
Oh yeah. No.
Let me say one thing about that regarding our project. Yes, it was recorded in the studio, but it was recorded in the conditions where everybody was playing at the same time. And particularly, I think in the tune by James Singleton, Foxy Roxy, that we did that's part of this single,
Yes,
we went to great lengths to have it be a live performance. And what the people hear is what we recorded that day. There aren't any changes or overdubs or multi-tracking. I mean, there's
right.
but there's nothing that's been, it has not been constructed in layers. That was just, it was played like that day. And I think that there's a lot of energy in that tune. And it's actually a really interesting tune because of the way that there's some parts where the guitar and the piano are slowing down and the drums and the bass are not slowing
I remember that.
and that's I think that's very cool. So you're continuing to do I saw you're doing, either you just did or you have coming up a streaming thing for Jazz at Lincoln Center. Is that right?
I just did that actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do have you have these streaming gigs and so on, but I'm sure that you're looking forward to the day that you can go out and play a club gig.
Play with people and in front of people, because that's the thing. Like when you're playing, that's why with live performances, there's a saying that the audience is the additional member of the band.
Right.
When you have an audience that has that energy and they're really enjoying the music, it's sort of, and that's why that's why you have live recordings that sound different from studio recordings.
Yeah. But
especially
I agree with you on that. I just talked to somebody, another friend who plays in a string quartet, and she was saying like, well, yeah, but we need the public to do what we do. That's part of it. What we do is we play concerts in front of a public, and if the public's not there, it's not really the same thing. So I think everybody in the classical and jazz worlds especially feel that. And so I'm hoping, let me just say, I'm hoping that people will go to outerpark.bandcamp.com and check out the single. And I hope that they can also buy the album. It costs $10, but they can also pay more. And the proceeds for that will go to helping you and James get through this time until live performance comes back to New Orleans. And I hope that's very soon. So
Absolutely.
thanks a lot for taking the time to talk about it. And
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, one thing I had wanted to mention too, and
please,
I said this on Facebook yesterday, is I sometimes, well, a lot of times actually, take for granted that there's people that aren't aware of the different styles of music that I'm into.
mm-hmm.
And in fact, this is one story that I'm remembering. There was a band that I was in, and this guitar player that was in the band. We were discussing something. I think the music of this band, Brand X. I don't know if you've heard of that band,
I've heard of them.
but yeah, it's one of those things where the one way I like to describe that band, it was a 1970s fusion thing for those who aren't familiar from England. And the one thing that I like to describe, one way I'd like to describe it is, if you want to stump a drummer on a blindfold test, play them the first Brand X album. And the reason that they're not going to guess the drummer is that the drummer is Phil Collins.
All right.
And Phil can play, like, even when you hear him, when you hear something like In the Air Tonight, I mean, it's solid sound, solid drumming. But this record, he's playing like odd meter tunes and very virtuosic, to where a lot of drummers don't know he can do that.
Right.
So
Right.
anyway, I was in this rehearsal, and this guitar player, I was like, yeah, I've been checking this out. He says, man, I have some albums that you might be interested in. One of them was, I think, Gentle Giant, and the other one was Genesis.
Mhm.
But it was 1970s Genesis that I was not aware of. See, I remembered 80s Genesis. I wasn't aware of 1970s Genesis when Peter Gabriel was the lead
Yeah.
vocalist.
It
And
was
so the album was,
it was a very different sound.
oh, it was. And so the album was The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And I loved it. I was totally in, because there's all these like complex arrangements and different things that they do with the forms. And I was so into it. And so anyway, um, I think there was a musician that was in town, and I was coming I think I was picking him up, and I happened to be playing the record in the car. So I pick him up, and he's like, man, what's this? Like, man, this is Genesis. This is killing. And I'm treating it like any other record. Like, I'm singing along with the music and singing along with all the parts. And he's looking at me like, what the hell? Like, that really shocked him. Like, he couldn't believe it. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, this is killing when they do this. And he was just like, oh, what? He couldn't believe it. And
You
so
know,
that's one example out of many. And I'm saying that to say that with this record, I think that there's a lot of folks that, when they hear me playing, like, on like rock tunes and funk grooves, it would surprise them. Like, wait, that's Jason doing that? Yeah.
that's right. But what they need to know is, you can do that because you have ears and an open mind, and that all these barriers in between styles are actually ultimately ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
That's the world we live in. Anyway, thank you very much, and really appreciate it. And I look very much forward to the time that we get to do it again, to be back down
Absolutely.
at Esplanade Studios in New Orleans to do it again.
Absolutely.
So thanks.
Thank you.